show. The shirt is off the cuff. Welcome. All right. Welcome to our Fun with Sharia show. But before we get started with that, I want to remind you, everybody, that either tomorrow or later today, I'll be doing another show, but that'll be my Halloween Spectacular, because it is my favorite holiday of the entire year, and I like talking about it whenever I can, and what better time to talk about it than actually around Halloween time. So there you go. Oh. Glad everybody's here. Thank you for coming. Before I get started, though, anybody that knows me knows that I despise religion in any and all of its forms. Okay, there's no one particular religion that I hate more than any other. There's an exception there, but I'm not going to mention it right now. I'll mention it some other time. But overall, no. I think all religions suck. And I think that any type of government based on religion sucks even more. So just to let you know, I'm never singling out any one particular group, Muslim, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, Shintoist, whatever it is you are. I'm not targeting specifically you. I'm targeting all of you. All right? Just to let you know. That being said, while I have no real respect for religion, I do find I have an innate fascination with religion because religion affects people's lives to such a degree that it influences every part of their lives. Everything that they do or are supposed to do is so based in their religion that it is their life for a lot of people. From codes of conduct to, how you do your taxes. It really just affects everything. And I find this fascinating in how it affects the human psyche, because it does, all right? You grow up Catholic, they tell you, hey, don't jerk off, and you're a 14-year-old boy, but that's all I want to do, so it's a toughie, all right? But today, the reason I want to talk about Sharia, and I'll tell you what that is in a little bit for those of you who don't know, is because I saw an article in a newspaper that mentioned Sharia. And it's a word that gets thrown around a lot these days. If you watch the news or listen to the radio news or you see it online, you might, you'll see the word, not think about it, just move along. Or if you just watch, regular television, TV shows like Homeland, that the word is thrown around a lot. And I'm one of those guys, I hear a word or I see a word, unless it concerns about something I really care about, I don't give a shit then, But I saw this particular article and it mentions Sharia quite a bit, and I decided, for myself, rather than just jump into this article and just toss it aside and move on to another story, I want to find out what Sharia is first. All right? And for all of you out there that might be listening that do know what it is I'll be talking about, my apologies in advance if I mispronounce a lot of the words or names. My apologies if I don't quite get all my facts right. I try to as much as I could. I try to understand it as much as I could. I will. Odds are I'm going to get some things wrong, but please understand that I do it not with any intention of disrespect. When I mean to disrespect the religion, you'll know I'm doing it on purpose, all right? Okay, so if I get anything wrong, that was a mistake on my part. My apologies. All right. Sharia, comes from the Muslim religion. It is in its most purest definition, it means divine law. But because it is law, directly, from the Quran or Allah, and is a basic tenet in a lot of Islamic law. For a lot of people, Sharia is, I'll get to that a little later. But what Sharia does cover is, what it is, it's a moral code and religious law of a prophetic religion, which, Islam is. Now, what it mostly does, it addresses a lot of the things that we address here in the West under civil law. It addresses secular law, some crime, politics, economics, sexual intercourse, hygiene, diet, prayer, etiquette, and even fasting. So it does affect, if you're a Muslim and you live under, and you abide by Sharia, it affects everything you do, quite literally. It affects everything you do. It is the infallible law of God. All right? Now, it's practiced in many countries, among them Saudi Arabia, the Sudan, Iran, Iraq, Brunei, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, and many others, actually. I mean, but these are some of the countries that it's like pretty much heavy on. Okay, it's practiced in other countries to more or lesser extents, but we'll get into that. But it is. It can be a severe form of law because it is a form of law that allows for flogging and stoning as legal punishments, and in some cases even a death penalty. Now, Sharia is derived from two sources. First, the Quran and the personal history and opinions of the Prophet Muhammad. Let's see, I do have something on him. I'll get to him a little bit later. But we've all heard of the Prophet Muhammad. It is within the Islamic religion the biggest figure there is. I mean, there's a lot of prophets within Islamic religion, but the Prophet Muhammad, he's the big guy. It's like for Christians, it's Jesus. Okay, for Jews, it's Moses. So that's the guy that when they think their guy, that's him. And let's see, Sharia is known to determine issues of, like I said, what would cover what we covered here in the United States or in any part of the Western world, as civil law. It covers divorce, inheritance, and other personal affairs. Now, one of the biggest problems that Sharia has had is that originally, we're talking thousands of years ago when it was begun, it was done in a tribal system and under, for the most part, very rural circumstances. And if you wonder what rural is, think farms, ranches. We're talking about people that raised livestock or they tilled the soil and grew their own food. But they lived within a community of farmers and people that grew livestock. So they came up with sets of rules based on the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad to come up with how it is they should live their lives as a good Muslim. Now, that changed a lot with the urbanization of a lot of these rural areas. For those of you who don't know what urbanization is, if you live in a city, well, you're urban. There you go. And I don't say that sarcastically, well, not completely, because, for the longest time, I was an adult. I had no idea what urban and rural meant. I'd heard the words a zillion times, but like I said, as far as I knew, the words didn't affect me. Now, the basic principles of the Islamic jurisprudence is in a book known as, like I said, if I mispronounce these words, my apologies, known as Al-Risala, written by Muhammad ibn Idris ash-Shafi. It details the four roots of law for Sharia: the Quran, Sunnah, to a lesser extent, Jima, and Qiyas, or Qiyas. Now, and it uses as the primary text, very specific here, the Quran and the Hadith, and it is meant to be understood by objective rules of interpretation derived from a very careful study of Arabic language. So what they're talking about here is, okay, these are the rules, these are what you're supposed to do, but you better make sure that when something happens and you try to apply the laws of Sharia to it, that you have a near perfect, if not perfect, understanding of the Arabic language. Otherwise, you could misapply the laws of Sharia to certain situations. Now, Tribal law is based on traditions rooted in the Quran and the Sunnah, and is without contradiction. Okay, you can't decide. You can't make a decision in a court of Sharia, which is ruled over usually, actually only by one judge, and you can't say, well, the Quran says this, but the Sunnah says that. No, that's not the way they work. They have to be in agreement. They have to be applied the same way. They can't contradict each other. Okay, you can't say, well, Quran says this and Sunnah says that. That's not going to happen. Okay, it's going to be applied equally. Okay. I'm telling you, it's a lot of info here, believe you me. Now these Islamic judges, which according to this is referred to as qadis, were appointed, but not always within the agreement of government law. In some cases, made independent of government, which in here meant, okay, you may live in this village or in this city, and there are certain sets of laws in place already by an established government, but the qadis, which judges of Sharia, would many times, and still do to this day, act outside of the governmental laws. So if you have a grief with somebody, and you want to get it fixed, you can either go to a Sharia court or go to a government court. Many times, though, you have to understand that these within Sharia, they will tell you that, well, you can't go to the government court. This is a Sharia problem. This is a tribal problem. This isn't our problem. We leave those outsiders outside. Okay, here we go. Yes, the Prophet Muhammad, born in 570 CE in the city of Mecca, also known as the holiest of holy cities for the Muslim people. Now, modern Muslim countries are often very divided between Sharia and what they refer to as secular law, secular government. Because a lot of these guys believe, the more secular Muslims believe that the laws and the way things are done should be based on secular ways of thought. Because, let's face facts, in a lot of these countries, not everybody is actually a Muslim. So, if you have Jews, Christians living in a country that is mostly Muslim or half Muslim or partially Muslim, and that happens a lot in the Middle East, trust me on that, you are obviously going to get a lot of people that do not agree with Sharia, including other Muslims. So you're going to get a lot. Again, that's one of the pitfalls of the urbanization of a lot of these countries, is that people came into these countries that were not Muslims, wanted to make a new home for themselves, and they did, and now they're made to put up with not just government laws, but in some cases the Sharia laws. I know it's a little confusing. Believe me, I had to go through the research on this at least 3 different times before I got even this much of an understanding of it. And of course, I know I'm going to get some of it wrong, but bear with me, okay? Today's music is being brought to you by Being Frank. That was his first song earlier on, Freak Show. I kind of dug it. Here's his next song, Neanderthaler by Being Frank. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back.
I would like to be your guest tonight. Oh, it's a very awful kind of you. I've been to kissing in the doorway, but I haven't got the nerve to say I would like you to. I would love you to. Love me and the fella. I would like you to love me.
Joe the Shirt. I jumped in a little too early on that. It's still off the cuff. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. I know I'm enjoying it because I've always find this stuff fascinating, And my girlfriend, she, every once in a while just needs to tell me, why don't you just shut the fuck up already and put it on the show, because that's who I talk to about this stuff. There's stuff I find fascinating. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about Sharia, also known as Islamic law, and in the strictest tradition, divine law. All right. Now, there are a lot of modern scholars of Sharia that argue that it is not a formal code, nor it is a well-defined set of rules, and it's not. Rather, it's based on discussions on the duties of Muslims based on the Muslim community. So, which is a very normal way for any community to develop. You develop a community, you all get together, and you decide, to avoid argument, let's do this way, and not we'll do it this way, because if I do it this way and then you do it that way, we're going to have a problem. So let's agree that we'll do it this way. And then there we go. And that's how communities really do start, You get together and you go, okay, you're not living here by yourself anymore. We're all here now, so let's put it together. But Sharia, officially speaking, no formal set of rules, no code of any kind. It's just based on the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. Now, under Sharia, there are actually 5 different categories of law, and I found this stuff really the most fascinating part of this. Again, if I mispronounce anything, my apologies. Now, the first category of law is called fard, which is actually obligatory law. This is law that every Muslim is forced to do. I'm using the word forced, but under Muslim beliefs, it is something that is for them a joy to do. All right. Now it's something that's required of all Muslims, and among these it includes the 5 daily prayers, fasting, the articles of faith, obligatory charity, and of course the pilgrimage to Mecca. Okay, this is something that this is a set of rules category that every Muslim must do. All right. The second category is mustahab, and these are, interestingly enough, these are recommended modes of behavior. Okay, it's not set in stone rules, but it's something that they recommend that you do. If you're a good Muslim, this is something that you just do. You don't have to do it, but it does carry weight within a Sharia court and its judge. It covers rules of marriage, funeral rites, and overall family life. Think of it this way. It's like beating your wife. If she hasn't done anything wrong, they don't recommend that you beat your wife. If she's been a good wife, faithful, takes care of the kids, she cooks, she cleans, she takes care of you in the bedroom, she does everything right, but you beat her anyway, it's recommended that you don't do that. Okay? Think of it that way. Now, like I said, this one especially is very much like civil law, okay? And what's really interesting about this is that within a Sharia court, it doesn't always matter what the 2 litigants have to say, the plaintiff or the defendant, because let's say the plaintiff has brought a case against the defendant, but the judge believes that the plaintiff has not been acting under a mustahab sort of behavior, then he may be ruled against, even if he's right in the case he's bringing up against the defendant, because he's not acting like a good Muslim. A very important point here, okay, is that within Islamic religion, it is every Muslim's duty to not embarrass or to make look bad being a Muslim, living your life in an Islamic way. Okay? All right, the next one I found actually to be the most interesting, and this is the third one. It's called mubah. Now this is, as defined by how I read it here, all behavior which is neither discouraged nor recommended, neither forbidden nor required, If it's mubah, it's permissible. So if it's not within the other 4 categories, you can just go ahead and do it. You can just go knock yourself out. Whatever it is, you can go do it or not do it. But it's not covered by any of the other 4 rules. It's like this weird neutral zone, All right. Next we have what's known as makruh behavior, which is in and of itself not considered sinful. It's just considered undesirable, like, say, once again, beating your wife. It's not a crime, but, we rather you didn't beat your wife. She's an okay girl. Why you gotta go beat her? You know what? Now, and under certain circumstances, much like mustahab, it can be used. It can be used for you to be found liable for criminal penalties. All right. So it's one of those things that if it's found that you've been acting this way, and it's some cases brought against you, even if nothing's proven. If they found that you've been acting in a makruh sort of way, well, you can be found guilty of a criminal charge without any proof whatsoever. And that's another one we're going to get into, believe you me. And finally, the last category is known as haram, which is a behavior or acts that are explicitly forbidden. It is considered not just sinful, but criminal and punishable in both ways. Now, this includes all actions which are expressly written in the Quran, which are expressly forbidden. And this covers a lot, because if you don't know much about the Islamic religion, then I suggest you listen to the show I did on that. But this stuff can cover anything from the food you eat to the clothes you wear. I mean, the haram covers even the clothes you wear or the food you eat. It can be considered absolutely sinful, if you ate a pig, or bacon, or pork chops, or whatever, which is considered an unclean animal. All right. Now, unlike, say, Western civil or criminal courts, Sharia courts have no lawyers. No, both plaintiff and defendant represent themselves. All right? Unlike say, Western courts, there is no jury system. It's just you, the other guy, and the judge. That's pretty much it. There's no pretrial discovery. Pretrial discovery, that's basically where, everybody brings in their evidence beforehand, and both sides are allowed to examine the other side's evidence. So that way they can prepare an appropriate defense or offense. None of that happens here. The case is brought up front, and all of it's there. There's no cross-examination of witnesses. So if either side brings up a witness, you can't then ask him questions. You can't say, well, how did you know I stole that sheep? Did you see me steal that sheep? Where were you when I stole that sheep? Really? How far were you from there when I stole that sheep? I didn't steal that sheep. No, so you can't do that. You cannot face the witnesses. You cannot challenge them in any way. Also, no precedent is used in Sharia law. Okay, so at no point in a Sharia case can you say, hey, you let Abdul fuck a sheep. Why can't I fuck a sheep? I know that's an extreme example, but just to put it out there, and let me say fuck a few more times. So you can't use that as a defense. Just because somebody else got away with it doesn't mean you can get away with it. It goes on a case-by-case basis. Let's see what else. And also, the final decision is left to the judge, and his interpretation of a Sharia law, and up to his discretion and how it's applied, how he sees it. All right, and once he makes the decision's done. It's like the case is over. There's not going to be a retrial. There's no appeals. It's done. You either do what the judge tells you, or next you're the one up in the Sharia court once again, and this time they're going to know that you didn't do it or did do it. Now, there are 3 actual types of evidence used within a Sharia court. There's confession, witness testimony, and an oath. Obviously, with confession, we all can figure that one out, okay? It's like, they ask you, well, did you fuck a sheep? Yeah, so wife was out of town, so that one's pretty easy. Next one, of course, is witness testimony. This is where it gets a little iffy in a lot of ways, because there's a level of quality of witness. Okay, let's see. Preferably, any witness in any case will be a free male Muslim. That's the best kind of witness you got. This witness cannot be related to either party and must be of sound mind and body. All right? If your witness happens to be a woman, it's going to carry a lot less weight. If your witness happens to be a Christian, it's going to carry a lot less weight. But if your witness is male, Muslim, and a free Muslim, well, then you got yourself a pretty damn good witness. Mind you, once again, no cross-examination. No one's going to be asked to bring out forth any proof. Okay, now what's really funny to me and sad is that in cases of adultery, it requires at least 4 direct witnesses to what happened. Which, and that's kind of sick, because you can basically, as a man who is accusing his wife of adultery, gather up, 4 of your friends and say, hey, just say you saw her, talking to some dude on the street, which is about as much as you need for adultery in a lot of Muslim countries. And your 4 buddies go, yeah, we saw the hoe do it. Yeah, she did it. Yeah. And there's also no forms of forensic evidence. There's no Sharia CSI out there. Okay, they're not coming in. They're not testing for fingerprints. They're not checking for blood samples. None of that bullshit. It's just what everybody says. And finally, actually, before I get into this last one here, we're going to take an early break just because I want to make sure to get into the meat of this, and then we can finally talk about why I'm bringing this up in the first place. In any case, here's more of Being Frank and his song Teaser. I'm Joe the Shirt, and I've been off the cuff. I'll be right back.
My head over the hill, I think I see her take a rest. Cute as can be, pretty, I don't know. Other people don't seem to notice what I see. She said she had no life, was it not for me? I was the kind of person like a thriller, like a child. That's what she did to me. Could not let her be.
And Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you. This is Joe the Shirt's off the cuff. You're listening to today's show, Fun with Sharia, which, in case you didn't know, refers to Islamic divine law. Anyway, we were talking about evidence used in a court of Sharia. We covered the first 2, which is confession, the second one being witness testimony, and now the most important one being the oath. The oath. In a Sharia court, unlike a Western court, where oaths are taken before any questioning is done, any proceedings are done, you take an oath, tell the truth, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, right? Now, in a Sharia court, an oath is usually the last straw. It is the last thing you want to do. It is the last thing that you want to call for. It's the last thing that you want to be asked to do. And the reason why is because it carries the greatest amount of weight. Okay? And this is where a true religious aspect of it comes into play. And it's because it's not taken lightly. At least, it's used, and it's usually used only as a last resort. Because if a defendant swears an oath and is found to be, perjuring themselves, or in other words, lying, it constitutes a profanity against the Quran. And let me tell you, those Sharia court Muslims do not take that lightly. If they find out or they determine that you were lying, you could be in a lot worse trouble than you were initially for when you first came in. All right? This is how big the oath is, okay? In many cases, litigants will just keep telling one story. It's like, I didn't fuck the sheep. I didn't fuck the sheep. I don't know why I keep coming back to fucking sheep. I didn't fuck the sheep. I didn't fuck the sheep. He says I fucked the sheep. I don't give a shit. I didn't fuck a sheep. His witness says I fucked the sheep. I didn't fuck him. I didn't fuck a sheep. Okay, in that case, we want you to swear an oath that you did not fuck a sheep. Okay, I fucked a sheep. And many and they will. That's what they'll do. They'll stop short of taking the oath, and they will say, "Yeah, okay, I did fuck the sheep," and they will cede their case, or the judge will just rule against them. Period. So that's the last resort. It's something nobody wants to go to. All right, because you get caught, lying on the oath, or determined that you were lying on the oath, then you are so screwed. A couple of quick things more to talk about. We're talking about the tradition of hisbah, which is the encouragement of all good Muslims to report on other Muslims that they believe harm Islamic society. It's like think of it as a self-imposed religious police state, where every one of your neighbors and you are encouraged that if you see another Muslim doing something non-Muslimy, then you should report them to the authorities immediately. It's something that they did in the old USSR, where they encourage you to report on your neighbors. I'll give you a pure example of this. My own girlfriend's father was once sent to prison for 7 years because a man he was talking to told an anti-Soviet Union joke, and he did not report the man that told the joke. All he did was listen to the joke, but he didn't report it. So he was arrested, and he was sent to prison for 7 years for not telling on somebody who said a joke. So this is basically the same thing here. Now, Sharia is, depending on the country, ranges in popularity from anywhere as low as a 20%, approval rating in Kosovo to as high as 99%, no surprise, in Afghanistan. Now, the reason I brought up Sharia in the first place, I know you're all thinking, Jesus Christ, Joe, what the fuck? Come on, man. What's the payoff? You all heard lately a lot about the Islamic State in Iraq, in Syria, and the war they're raging against whoever it is the hell they want. No judgments there. Well, some judgments, obviously, but that's not the point of this particular article here. This comes from the LA Times. The Islamic State, this is the headline, the Islamic State praises sex slavery. Okay? According to this, a slick English language magazine online says the rape of Yazidi women in Iraq is supported by Sharia. Okay. From Baghdad. In the latest edition of the English language magazine published by the Islamic State, the militants justify forcing ethnic Yazidi women into sexual slavery, a practice they say is encouraged under Islamic law. Quote, this is from the article now. Quote, the revival of slavery before the hour by the group exults in the enslavement and rape of women from the Yazidi religious minority captured in Iraq after their husbands or fathers were killed or taken prisoner. This is from the English online Islamic State magazine known as Dabiq. That's Dabiq, in case you want to go look this up yourself. its fighters have seized large swaths of Iraq and Assyria and have enslaved and sexually abused captured women. Quote, again, this is from the article, one should remember that enslaving the families of the kuffar, the infidels, and taking their women as concubines is the firmly established aspect of the Sharia or Islamic law. Now, this particular Kurdish community is and beliefs are linked to, let's see if I pronounce this correctly now, Zoroastrianism, which is considered by some to be a pagan minority of devil worshippers. Another quote from the article, their creed is so deviant from the truth that even cross-worshipping Christians for ages condemn their devil worshippers and Satanists. Okay. And what's been going on? The article refers to the captives of slaves. Another quote here. The Yazidi women and children were then divided. Hold on, make sure I'm getting this right. No, that's from someone else. My bad. There's a different quote. The Yazidi women and children were then divided according to the Sharia amongst the fighters of the Islamic State. After 1/5 of the slaves were transferred to the Islamic State authority to be divided as khums, or required payment of spoils of war, to a caliph. Let's see. The enslaved Yazidi families are then sold by the Islamic State soldiers. Now, under Sharia, they must obey religious strictures that prohibit separating children from their mothers. They also say some of the women have freely converted to Islam. I find this difficult to believe. Now, according to the article here, if one were to deny or mock the practice, like basically I'm doing right now, he would be denying or mocking the verses of the Quran and the narrations of the Prophet Muhammad, and thereby apostatizing from Islam. Well, I'm not apostatizing myself from Islam because I was never Muslim. That was something I covered some weeks ago. Apostasy is the leaving of one religion for another, in its simplest form. There you go. Which is very much against the law in Muslim countries. If you're a Muslim and you decide to convert to Christianity or Judaism or whatever the Jehovah's Witnesses, whatever the fuck it is, that's a crime and punishable. Now, this is why I had to look up Sharia. Because these guys, by the way, really quick interjection here, they refer to these people as being pagan worshipping, Satanist, devil worshippers, filthy, disgusting people. Why are they sticking their dicks in them? Can somebody explain that one to me? If you told me this is the lowest, filthiest, most disgusting, evil woman on the planet, she is unclean, unholy, you want to fuck her? I'll be like, no, I don't want to fuck her. What's wrong with you? Why are you fucking her? You're like allegedly on the side of God here. Why are you fucking her? Why are you turning into a sex slave? What the hell's wrong with you? You hypocritical piece of shit? At least that's what I'd say. So I looked up Sharia and rape, and under Sharia, it doesn't talk about rape. It doesn't talk about that. It talks about forced marriage. Okay? Wherein a young girl is forced to marry another man, usually under the with permission from I'm probably going to get this wrong. I think a wazidi. If I get that wrong again, I'm sorry. Which is a male member of her family who has authority over her, like say a father, an elder brother that the father's not there, maybe the uncle if the father and brother are not there. That a male that has authority over her. And it is agreed upon that she will marry that guy over there, all right? And then she has to go with him because she's being forced to go, and this can range in a lot of ages now. But there are certain rules even within these ages. For instance, let's see, depending on which type of Sharia you want to use, whether or not the girl is a virgin, whether or not this is her second marriage, whether or not the girl has reached the age of puberty. Okay? But at no point in here does it talk about just grabbing women and selling them off as slaves so that other guys can fuck them, or for you to just grab them and rape them yourself without forcing them to become your wife. It's not what the Sharia covers, at least not from what I found. You know what? There very well could be a whole aspect of it that I missed somewhere. You know, I have to get my information from the internet. You know, like I said, I don't happen to know a lot of Muslims. I certainly don't know any Muslims that practice Sharia. Excuse me. You know, but the original aspect of it was not meant for just, you know, acts of violence and rape against women just because you happen to be in a war. You know, most people would be treating these people, you know, under more civilized rules of conduct. Not that I believe anybody has civilized rules of conduct in a war. You know, you're not supposed to hurt the women and children. Not supposed to do that. We all know it happens all the time. But you know, but to defend it, you know, under religious law, I think is just the biggest piece of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. You know. Mind you, there's plenty of psychos out there that believe that what they're doing is, well, you know, God said it was okay. But that's just one nut, okay? We're not talking about an entire group of people like the Islamic State that go around saying, well, yeah, it's fine. It's okay for them to go off and rape these women and these Yazidi women. They're low-born. They're filthy. They're disgusting. You know, they're Satanists, devil worshippers, pagans, you know, unclean. And I'm like, well, again, why are you fucking them then? I can't believe that Allah would be happy with you doing this. You know, He doesn't let you eat pork, but you can fuck the lowest, ugly, nastiest bitch on the planet? That's okay. You can't have a hot dog, but you can fuck that 6-year-old all day long. Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me, sure. Well, like I said, it doesn't need to make sense to me. I know there are many, many cultural differences all over this world, millions, billions of them, you know, but don't go off and tell me that your God, you know, doesn't want you eating pork, but it's okay to, you know, bang a 6-year-old heathen. Don't give me that one. It's it's the kind of stuff that just pisses me off. Now, mind you, I don't think that the original intent of the Sharia law, which meant that forcing a girl to marry some guy that she doesn't know and then he has sex with her, was okay. Now, here's another one for you. Okay, under these rules, under the rules of Sharia, you know, in a forced marriage, there has to be, in some cases, there has to be consent from the girl. All right, you know, so if she says no, well then, you know, you're not allowed to in certain cases, not all. But if she says yes, well then obviously, you know, you get to go, you know, balls deep. But silence is accepted as a form of consent within Sharia. You know, so you get yourself a 9-year-old bride, you take her home with you, and you go, hey, is it okay if I fuck you? And she stays quiet. She might be just incredibly shy or quivering with absolute dreaded fear, but you can take that as consent. It's okay. You know, it's okay to go ahead and fuck her. Yeah, all right. All right, okay. In any case, that is my time for today. Oh, my God. I'm so glad I was able to do this show finally. I've been thinking about it for weeks, but I want to get as right as I could. I know I probably got a lot of stuff wrong, but I always keep trying. In any case, here's our last song from Being Frank. It's called French Love. Thank you for listening. I'm Joe the Shirt, and I've been off the cuff.